Unless you've been living in Siberia for the last 10 years, you've probably heard about Amazon Web Services. It was started by Amazon in 2006, specifically to cater to web-based businesses. Today, they are the leading infrastructure as a service provider. I've put up here on this slide the latest Gartner Magic Quadrant for infrastructure as a service. This was actually just published last week, and you can see that this year, again, Amazon continues to push up into the upper right-hand corner. And fortunately for John, VMware actually made it into the quadrant this year as well, albeit down in the lower left. They have hundreds of thousands of customers in 190 countries. They've got 35 plus major services, and they are constantly adding new services. To give you an idea of the rate of innovation at Amazon, last year they released something on the order of 250 new features in addition to new services. That's about 1.5 new feature, or a feature every 1.5 days of the year. It is a global platform, available in 10 regions around the world. 4 of those regions are in North America. One of those regions is specifically for government. There's a region in South America, in Europe, 4 regions in Asia Pacific. This includes a new region in Beijing, which is currently in limited trial. So, like I said, they've got 35 some odd major services, which they've all given unintuitive names, such as S3 and EBS and Route 53. I put this slide together, I call it my Decoder Ring. It's really to help map the Amazon service names to what we would traditionally understand as a service in a traditional data center. But really what you want to take away from this slide is that pretty much any service that runs in your data center today is actually available as a service on AWS. So oftentimes when I'm talking to customers about AWS, and people really like the idea and they like the capabilities that it provides, but the biggest question is, is it secure enough for me to run my enterprise apps in some sort of public cloud? And my answer to that usually is, well, Amazon is in business. Their entire business is providing infrastructure as a service. They have a very vested interest in making sure that that platform is secure. Their security standards and processes are probably more stringent than the ones that you currently have in your data center today. They have all of the major certifications. They go through multiple SOC 1 audits each year. They're PCI and HIPAA compliant, and they're also certified for all the major government certifications, FISMA, DICAP, ITAR. They also have a number of international certifications, including EU Safe Harbor. On top of that, they provide you with a lot of really robust security services in the platform itself. They're one of the only platforms that I'm aware of today that actually has role-based access control on available at every single API call. They support multi-factor authentication. You can build private subnets in there. You can bring your own IP address ranges. If you don't feel comfortable connecting to Amazon across the public internet, you do have the availability of directly connecting your data center in, either via 1 gig or 10 gig connections. If you have the requirement to do hardware-level encryption of your security keys, they do also support HSM as a service in their platform. Why are enterprises choosing AWS? And the overall resounding answer to this is agility. It's not hard to see where startups are becoming very disruptive to well-established industries. You think about Spotify and what they've done to the music industry. Uber's done to transportation. Airbnb is now doing to the hospitality industry. So these days, enterprise can't afford to be slow. The old world of taking weeks, if not months, to provision infrastructure is not sustainable. In order to be competitive now, we really need to be able to provision infrastructure in minutes. If I need to add a new development environment, I should just be able to click a button. If I want to provision 1,000 machines or deprovision 1,000 machines, I can click a button as well. If I want to provision an entire new environment halfway around the world, I can click a button to do that as well. So this type of agility is really powerful. It really means that we're no longer stuck not being able to innovate as quickly. We can now, as an enterprise, we can innovate just like the startups can. So we can try out 100 new ideas. If 99 of those ideas are no good, it doesn't matter because it didn't really cost me that much to actually try them out. So I have a lot more innovation. I have the ability to innovate a lot faster. So speaking of cost, Amazon provides 4 different cost models. At the very basic is their free tier. This is available to everybody for the first 12 months after you create an account. Essentially, it gives you free access to all of the major services in the platform to try out. The next pricing model is the pay-as-you-go utility-based pricing, the one that we're probably all most familiar with. This is where I log in, I create an account, I give it my credit card or some sort of corporate billing details, and then I can start provisioning services. Amazon charges by the hour or by the capacity, depending on the type of service that you're running. Then they have 2 other pricing models, which are specifically for their EC2 or their virtual machine instances. The one pricing model is reserved instances. This is going to appeal to enterprise customers that are planning on running steady-state workloads. You actually pay an upfront fee to reserve a specific amount of EC2 capacity. Then in return for that, Amazon gives you significantly discounted hourly rates for running those instances. Then they've got spot pricing. So this is something unique to Amazon. They've started a marketplace where they actually auction off all spare EC2 capacity that's available at any point in time. You can put in a bid for what you want to pay for the EC2 instances, and if it's high enough and accepted, then they start provisioning those for you. The caveat here is that with the spot market, as the capacity becomes constrained and the price goes up, if the price goes above your bid price, they'll terminate your EC2 instances immediately. So let's talk about, what are enterprises using AWS for? There's lots of good use cases here as an enterprise for using AWS. Things like enterprise applications, dev and test, like John talked about, web and mobile application development. Big data is a big use case for AWS. Even storage, backup, archiving, and disaster recovery are all valid use cases here for enterprises. From an enterprise application perspective, all the major Tier 1 applications are certified. Here you can see Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, all fully certified to run in AWS. In respects to Oracle and Microsoft, you can actually get Oracle databases and SQL databases as a managed service in AWS. If you have a Microsoft Enterprise License Agreement, you can bring your own licenses as well as with Oracle. From Microsoft's perspective, they give you a lot of good tools to quickly provision Microsoft infrastructure services like Active Directory, SharePoint, Exchange in AWS. So development and testing is probably one of the easiest ones for enterprises to understand. There's a lot of advantages for me moving my dev test environments into AWS. I free up infrastructure. In my data center, I can repurpose that for production workloads. It provides my developers with a lot of benefits around being able to spin up new development environments quickly, shut those development environments down when I'm not using them anymore and I'm not paying for them. And overall, it lowers my operational costs because I'm not managing the infrastructure to support that anymore. Here you can see I've got an example where the source code repository is running on an EC2 instance. I've got my project management database running in an RDS instance. I'm using Amazon's queuing service to push code into my build servers. Build servers are actually EC2 instances that will auto-scale as I need them to. As the code is compiled, it's pushed out into an S3 bucket. So big data is another good use case for AWS. They provide you with a lot of good services to support big data. The first is the Elastic MapReduce, which is their managed Hadoop service. You can see in this example, I've got some EC2 instances feeding data into a S3 bucket where the EMR service is actually going to read that information directly out of S3. As I need to scale out that EMR cluster, it's going to use EC2 spot instances, so I can cost effectively expand that cluster. And then it's going to push the data into a RDS instance where I can then do my reporting. And then once I'm done doing my reporting, I can just shut all of that down. I can archive the data into S3, and it gives me a cheap way of maintaining that data and not having to pay for the infrastructure anymore. Redshift is another one. It's their petabyte scale data warehouse service. And they've also got a new service that was released last year, Kinesis, which is their fully managed service for real-time processing of streaming data. Web and mobile application development, they give me a lot of good tools to support this. CloudFront, which is their content delivery network, competes with companies like Akamai, we're probably familiar with. They've got 51 edge locations around the world. They also have a managed search service in the cloud. So Cloud Search supports 33 languages for searching today. And then a new application that they released last year as well, AppStream, which is targeted specifically at mobile application development. So I can host my applications in AWS, and then I can just stream the information to mobile devices across any network. So disaster recovery, I can use AWS to back up any type of data. I can copy entire virtual machines into AWS. I can stand up the Amazon Storage Gateway, which allows me to intelligently cache information that's going back and forth between my data center and S3. From a disaster recovery or a backup, I can also then use things like database replication. I can replicate my on-premise SQL databases to SQL RDS or EC2 instances running in Amazon. So to wrap this up, I want to give you some examples of how enterprises can get started. I know that it sometimes can be a daunting task, and you can end up with analysis paralysis trying to figure out where to start with this. So here's a couple of strategies. The first strategy is probably the easiest one for everybody to take advantage of, which is moving that development and test environment into Amazon. Again, it gives my developers really powerful capabilities of being able to create entire development environments on demand. I don't have to get my operations team involved in provisioning those environments. I don't have to go out and procure infrastructure. It ultimately will reduce the time for my development cycles. Also reduces the overall cost of my test environments, because and test and dev environments, as I develop and then I shut everything down, I don't have to pay for that infrastructure anymore. Another strategy is to start building applications in the cloud. Eric talked earlier this morning about native cloud applications. So any new applications, we don't develop them on-premise, we put them directly into Amazon. You can see up here some big names, Spotify, Airbnb. These companies never had a data center. From day one, they were developing these applications in Amazon. Companies like more well-established companies like GE, Unilever, Pfizer, they're all now starting to move their development out of their data center and into the cloud because they can see the advantages that it's giving them. And then another strategy is to use Amazon in the cloud to augment your existing infrastructure. So, if I'm considering standing up an analytics environment or a data warehouse on-premise, instead of doing that, I can start using some of the services that Amazon provides, either Redshift or Elastic MapReduce. If I don't have currently any type of offsite backup, I can start using Amazon as a offsite backup target. Alternatively, if I don't have a secondary disaster recovery data center, I can leverage Amazon as my secondary disaster recovery data center. Just to wrap up, I want to give you, a couple of ways, or a couple of thoughts on where you might fit AWS into your environment already. So if you're considering doing some sort of tech refresh this year, you can consider Amazon instead of actually going out and procuring that capital. You can also, if you need additional capacity because some sort of environment is running out of capacity, you can use Amazon to supplement that environment. And if you have some sort of new application development project or you're launching some sort of technology business initiative, you consider Amazon for that. Or if you're considering outsourcing part or all, or you're already outsourcing some of your environment, consider Amazon for that as well. So I hope that gave you a little bit of a flavor of what Amazon is and how it can benefit you. So thank you.